perspective. The thing is that, again, if the wisest man in the world that ever existed said, put me somewhere in the middle, then what should be our goal? Somewhere in the middle. Just like Amber and I was sitting out this morning, and we're the weirdos, and we're tracking hummingbirds, and they're in Little Rock.
I love hummingbirds.
They're now in Little Rock. I've watched them move from South Arkansas. I've watched them actually move way down south. Now, the other day, they was in southwest Arkansas, and now there's like 3 sightings right around the Little Rock area. There's one
Is there a
sighting.
reason for migration? Have you figured that out?
Yeah, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching the migration, and there's a live map where people
That's cool.
update it. And so that is kind of our thing. That is what Amber likes to do. She loves these things, so I love kind of just taking care of what my wife wants. And so that's kind of our world. And I was sitting there, and I was telling Amber this morning that, I don't know that I could be happier anywhere other than where I'm at right now.
That's right.
And you think about it, we live in a storage building. I mean, in essence, it's kind of a bougie storage building, yes. But the thing is that, we've got so many decorations on the wall. Don't we, Jacob? We never beat on the walls no more, do we? Because trust me, I don't think about it either. I never think about it, how many things she has on the wall. We got more decorations in the house. It's probably going to break our house down. But the thing is that it's just a cheap existence. Jacob and I had to go through a house the other day, and I told Jacob, I said, you realize in this neighborhood, we are classified as white trash. I'm talking about a neighborhood that was like, and I walked in this house, honestly, it was, I hate to use the word intimidating, but it was honestly intimidating.
Yeah.
Some of these houses you just go, and this was an old house. It was an old house. And it was like one of them old, beautiful homes and a big old courtyard. And you just walk in and you just go, I mean, they got 2 plants. I was telling Zeke about it because I was thinking about this last night. I had a hard time going to Sam's and buying 2 sets of pots that have 3 in them for $20 a piece. I wrestled with that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's $20 for 3 pots. They had 2 planters that was 6-7 foot tall, this big around, concrete, really ornate. This probably got more in them 2 planters than I have in my whole house. It's like, how in the world? So the thing is that I don't look at wealth. But what I do want to do is I want to have the maximum amount of blessings as I can stand. I want to be able to have a situation come up in my life, have a challenge, have a solution to this challenge, and be able to make it through this situation and this thing without freaking out. How many people are we around? And think about it, Emily. How many people are you around when they face a challenge or they face a trial, loses it? Because, I've told everybody, you can live this existence without God. Why? So the thing is that, for me, I have gotten to this point to where I even now memorize the sell-by dates on certain things, like briskets and stuff like that, because I make ground beef out of that. And I memorize the sell-by date, so I know when it's getting ready to go on sale. So and I've actually clicked a tracker, believe it or not, because I can buy this stuff for half price. Yep. That's how I look at things, because again, I want to be able to have the money to do the things that I want to do and enjoy the things. And, I want to enjoy my life. I don't want to live in poverty. I've lived in poverty. I don't want to live in poverty no more. That's not a bad thing to not want to live in poverty. It is a bad thing where all you think about is money. That your desires and you're constantly working. That is not healthy. I have been there. So what we're talking about is how to maximize your blessings. How to maximize the good in your life. Like I said, I think about God in the terms of this. Before you come to a situation or as you come to a situation, So as an example, y'all have heard me go through this thing about our work. It slowed down. For a while, I mean, it slowed down and practically stopped. You know what I did? I went out, I got on the phone, I said, okay, this is gonna slow down. She's taking the kids? Okay. So this is gonna slow down. And so what's gonna happen is that now that this slows down, I'm just gonna shift gears, I'm gonna go mow. I'm gonna, so I didn't sit around and whine and cry, well, why did it so slow down? I just took it and move on.
I did.
And like I told Amber, God will provide. God will supply what we need to make it through.
Yep.
There was a time that if, especially in the body shop business, to where, 1 week you've got more work than you can do, the next week you ain't got enough to make a check. And the thing is that I used to tell all young technicians, man, if you're having a good week, set that good week back. Because next week, if next week's slow, you set this money back and it covers the slow week. And the thing is that inconsistency and being a manager in that when everybody's looking at you thinking,
My glasses.
I hate it when I'm blind. Being a manager,
I apologize. I'm sorry.
you're fine. And being a manager and not being able to have work for your people. Because now you know that they're all looking at you saying, hey, what are we going to have? It's really refreshing now to think that's not my problem. But yet, I still need, because I had prayed about this business, and the next thing I know, it opens back up again. I'm like, okay, so I need to balance this thing better. And again, you learn that lesson not to freak out. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, where does it go wrong? Where do you lose these things? So, today, we're going to talk about being friendly. What is the difference between friendly to or a friend of? What's the difference?
Well, you could be
Or
a friend
not
of.
friendly, but a friendship is a connection.
Yes. So is it possible that we could be are we friendly to God or are we a friend of God? And I'll tell you the story. I was watching a thing on YouTube the other day, and as I was watching it, it was Cat Williams. I don't like his vocabulary. I don't like the cussing. I don't like all that. But he said something that just stood out to me as probably one of the coolest things I've heard in a while. He said, this guy had asked him, he said, why did you adopt all these kids? You was a single guy and you adopted all these kids. He said, well, ask yourself this question. What would God say about, he says, I've been given a blessing. I've been given this money. What would God say about me taking this money and investing it and raising up somebody who don't have parents, who doesn't have a chance, and giving them an opportunity in life? He says, what do you think that God would say about that? He says, I think God would like that. He says, so don't you think that what I'm doing, he says, don't you think that is what God would say, that you're his friend? He says, so of all the people that you want to be involved in and to be calling a friend is God. Think about that. Years ago when I was Axton's age and younger, I was trouble. I will tell you, I was a troublemaker. I was always getting in trouble, and there was always Wick Blankenship used to chase me down and try to beat me up every day, and some other bullies in the neighborhood.
He deserved it.
No, I didn't. The thing is that what happened, AJ, is that there was a German Shepherd dog, and it's over in the neighborhood. It lives in fence. Nobody could get near that dog. Every day I took treats to that dog, and I became friendly to, and then I finally became a 2-degree friend of that dog. And when all the bullies would come after me, guess where Monty would run?
Right. Smart man.
I'd get in the dog pen. However, the downside of that is that now you are localized, and now they can throw rocks at you. That's another story, but you know, you get in the doghouse and you kind of hide from the rocks for a while. But that's what I would have to do for the neighborhood bullies. And when they got after me, I would go in there, and every time I would go back to that dog pen, I didn't just run, Emily, and jump in that dog pen. No, I had to suck up to that dog. I had to remind that dog that, hey, I'm your friend. You know, and I'd always have some kind of treat, or I'd pet him or something like that. And finally he'd like, okay, you can get in. You know, hey, get one of your friends come here. I'm going to bite that son of a gun. Yeah, bite them. Because, see, they wasn't friendly to the dog. So then they did not become a friend of the dog. But even within that, I had to be friendly to the dog. That dog didn't just trust me. I couldn't just run up there. So I was friendly to that dog. But yet if I was a friend of that dog, I wouldn't have had to bribe him.
Right.
But isn't that our relationship in a nutshell to God? We can be friendly to God. Think about these things. Again, in the Bible, it says that there were those that they were facing judgment. What did they say? Didn't we do this? Didn't we do that? What would that be a qualification for? Being friendly to.
Yeah.
Being friendly to.
There's no relationship.
Yes.
Intimacy, you know.
But the thing is that you think about this thing, doing something is being friendly to. Being a friend of, it brings it to a whole new realm. Who's got James 2:23? Read that one.
And the scripture was fulfilled, which saith, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called the friend of God.
Can you imagine that your life was such that Abraham had to go through a lot of trials? Didn't Abraham have to nearly sacrifice his son
Yeah.
that he loved? Can you imagine? Do we love somebody enough to sacrifice? Heck, we can't sacrifice a Sunday. We can't sacrifice $1. Think about this thing. What sacrifices do we? That's one of the reasons why it's so important for church. Because I am reading a book right now. And this book is, again, it's so weird how these books relate to society. I remember one time I had talked to a young man that I considered one of the wisest young men that I knew. And I'd ask him, I said, well, you know, do you not have a problem with the fact that you have no privacy? Every one of your conversations are being monitored. Every phone call is being monitored. Right now, they know exactly where you're at. Does that not bother you? And he says, no. Because he's lived with it his entire life. It's a trade-off that you make. But if you consider it right now, Big Brother is real. It's watching, it's listening to everything. Your TV is listening to you. Everything is being tracked. Everything is being monitored. And the thing is that we've gotten so used to it. But if you went back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, if this even entertained your thoughts, what would you do? You wouldn't have it. But now, for the trade-off of being able to sit on your phone and scroll and do your thing, you've traded that off. Well, what's happened is in this book, they traded off freedom for food. Because now they're living in a society where a government that they elect, come to find out there's a government behind the government, and Lance, they don't have to work. Every human being has an Android. You just have to be there. Your Android does all your work. You do nothing. You have to worry about nothing. All you have to do is eat what they tell you to eat. You cannot own a gun. You cannot say anything against the government. All you got to do is keep your mouth shut, do what they tell you to do, and you'll be taken care of for the rest of your life.
Happen right now.
Is that not the case of the society that we're in right now? And the thing is that these people have been so long like this, they know nothing else.
That's right.
They don't know nothing about privacy.
Right.
They don't know nothing about, because they don't know, like if you imagine, it would scare me to death to be on government assistance. And now, mind you, I'm on government assistance. What I'm talking about is complete government assistance. I work. I still work. But the thing is that if you're in a society and you're in a place to where, well, you know, I can't get married, or I can't do this, or I can't go get a job because if I got married, or if I did this, or if I tried to live the right way, I would lose my EBT. I would lose my government assistance. So you're going to forego the blessings of God to gain the blessings of your government. How many people like that are in society right now? How many people right now have to, their vote is being swung by how many things are they going to be given? Exactly. My favorite story about Bailey is when she's selling out her ability to not sue this company because of birth defects or something like that for $30. She found a way to get $30, but she just signed paperwork that she ain't going to sue the company. That tells me right there that, wait a second, that company is probably getting ready, you're probably getting ready to have some trouble. But for $30, guess what you just did? Heck yeah, I got $30. I can now go buy 3 gallons of gas. Heck yeah. But what'd you sign off? What did you give away for this thing? But can you imagine? Here we are, that we've got a guy who loved God so much and he believed that what God said to sacrifice and what vision that God showed him, because God promised him. He showed him a vision so much that it changed his name. It changed his name. It changed his whole essence. He was no longer this person. He was a new person. And it was counted to him as righteousness, and he was called what? A friend of God. Somebody go to John 15:15.
Hey, can I ask you a question real quick?
Hang on, Axton.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, Axton.
Are you speaking?
See how it ties into what Artie wants to say.
Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth. But I have called you friends, for all the things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you.
Okay? What you going to say, Artie?
Did I miss someone else? Philios. You haven't got there yet?
Nope.
Okay, I'll make sure I didn't
So-
miss it. Okay, thank you.
See, I was thinking about this. Are we servants of God or are we friends of God? He says, henceforth, he says, you're not servants. We're not slaves. We're not servants of God. The difference between a servant and a friend is this. It's the analogy of a housekeeper. You're doing your job. You're paid to do a job. Kid walks through there and looks down, and there's a piece of glass on the floor or something like that. The house servant may or may not clean it up. It depends upon how they feel about the kid. But if that house servant looks down and says, wait a second, that's going to hurt that kid, or goes beyond, you're no longer a servant, you went further. You went beyond. Now you're qualified as a friend. You're treated as a friend because you're counted as family. You are taking care of their interests. You're not just an employee, AJ. You care about the company. You're going to take care of that company. And the thing is that they're going to take care of you. You've developed that relationship. And Jesus said, he said, you're no longer the servants of God. I now count you as my friend. The difference is I've shown you and I've told you. A while ago, Abraham, it was said unto him, and he trusted and he believed it. These servants of God, now they've seen God's picture. They've seen what Jesus was trying to tell them. They caught a glimpse of it, and now they believed it. What is the difference between hearing and believing? The difference between hearing and believing is being able to offer the sacrifice. To give away your security. Does that make sense? To give away that which you love. To set something else, another mission higher than your mission. So Jesus is now calling us friends. Who are actually, because again, Jesus came in, he gave his life. You believe it? They knew what they was going to have to do. they were dedicated to that lifestyle. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They were dedicated. Do what?
Amen.
That absolutely, yeah. I mean,
And the thing is that they say, somebody tell me why the number one reason that diets fail.